Let me get TikTok up. I got Facebook up. Let me split the screen. Okay, and then let me get TikTok up. And then we are gonna get going. I never know what this frame rate thing is talking about. Okay, I don't know what that is. All right. All right, welcome y'all to Balance Millennial Monday. It is your girl Key. Today we are going to be talking about guilt. We're going to be talking about guilt because our focus for the month of March is about guilt impacting your success. So, specifically today, we are talking about guilt impacting your ability to prioritize your own needs, your own wants. And we're going to talk about 3 ways to help you through that journey, to help you through that process, because it's very normal. And a lot of people are entering their selfish era and wanting to spend more time doing the things that they love, doing the things that they're passionate about, but they feel guilty when they turn someone down. They feel guilty when they cancel plans. They feel guilty when they prioritize themselves over someone else. And it's normal, it's human, but we definitely want to talk about ways to get you out of the cycle so that way you can really focus on your core values, focus on your own goals, focus on the things that actually matter to you and that are most relevant to you. So let's get started. So, the first thing we're going to talk about when we're talking about prioritizing yourself and removing the guilt during your selfish era is that you got to identify your core values. You got to identify what's most important to you. You got to identify why did you enter your selfish era in the first place? What happened that triggered this need, this desire, this want to enter your selfish era? Because that's going to be a really big indicator. And it's also going to be a really big reason um, that helps you get out of the cycle of people please. And that helps you get out of the cycle of pouring into others when your cup is not full yourself. So you want to start thinking like, what situation happened? So it could have been work, right? You could be somebody who bust your ass at work, and the one time you asked for a day off at work, they told you no. Or the one time you were sick and weren't able to fulfill a project or do something that you normally do with no problem, it was a big issue, it was a big deal. You were treated differently because of that. So you want to start thinking about what situation made you decide and triggered your selfish era in the first place, because that's where you're going to do a deep dive into what you value. Because if you're someone who, like I said, for the work example, if you're someone who busts your ass at work and when you make a request, it's something that they just can't figure it out, they just can't do it, it's just not on their priority list. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Because to me, excuse me, to me, that sounds like loyalty is a really big value for you. That sounds like compassion is a really big value for you. Because again, if you're someone who does your job day in and day out, it should be your request should be easily granted. And I'm like a big, avid, firm believer in that. Because I'm someone like that in my 9 to 5. I do a good ass job in my 9 to 5. I do a lot for the company that I work for. So I wish I would ask for something or make a request, and they just tell me that there's absolutely nothing they can do. We'll see. We'll see. Because for me, I value a job that allows me to prioritize myself, that allows me to prioritize my wellness and prioritize my personal life outside of work, because work should not be taking up any time outside of the 8 hours a day that you work. Um, so you want to start identifying what triggered you to step into your selfish era, and why. What values can you associate to that experience? Maybe you had a friend, right? You had something really special planned. You were all excited about it. You're like, oh, my friend is going to be excited for me too. But then when you share this news with your friend, crickets, you know, it's a very dry congratulations, or it's a very dry, excited thing. Whereas when it was the other way around, like you probably threw them something, you probably celebrated them, you probably were truly, genuinely excited for them, but you're not getting that energy back. So maybe that made you tap more into your selfish era, because that made you realize that there was no reciprocation there, that you were investing in this person and you were investing energy in this person, but they were not able to do the same for you. So you want to start identifying the situation that triggered your selfish error and identify the values associated with that. Friendship is important for me. Relationships are important to me. But what's most important about friendships and relationships is that there's reciprocation. I'm someone who's like entering a space now where low maintenance friendships are not enough for me. So friends who are only able to offer low maintenance friendships, we're not gonna be able to be close friends long term. Like maybe we'll still be cool, maybe the kids will still hang out and things like that. But as for long term friendship, that's probably not gonna work, because low maintenance friendships are no longer something I want to have. So you want to start identifying what event happened that triggered you to start your selfish era in the first place, and identify the values in that situation that are important to you. This is also an important step, or an important route to go, because you want to identify when it happened. Because a lot of times when people are in their selfish era, when you're not aware of what triggered it, when you're not aware of why you wanted to join and have this journey in the first place, you just keep repeating cycles. So you'll be like, oh, I'm in my selfish area. I'm focused on me. I'm doing me. I ain't worried about what y'all doing. I ain't worried about what y'all talking about. But as soon as that phone ring and somebody got some gossip, got some drama, got some nothingness to say, you're picking up the phone. Whereas when you are really sad, when you're really depressed, when you're really hurt, when you're really needing a shoulder to cry on, are you able to call that person who will happily call you for drama, who will happily call you for mess? You want to keep that at the front of your brain, because what's going to happen is when that experience does happen again, you'll be able to choose yourself. You'll be able to not answer the phone, or you'll be able to answer and say, no, I don't want to talk about that. I'm good on that kind of conversation. So the first tip again is that you are going to want to identify what situation happened to trigger your selfish error in the first place. Next, you are going to want to start auditing and managing and looking at your time better, because a lot of times when you're people pleasing, when you're putting everybody else before you, you are overcommitting to things. You are overcommitting. You said you can drop the kids off. You can drop the kids off. You can pick the kids up. You can run your homegirl up the street real quick. You can hang out with your friends over, like you're saying that you can do all of these things because you feel like these things are going to make other people happy. You feel like it's going to give you the kind of relationships you desire, the kind of experiences you desire. But really what you want to start focusing on is you want to go in your calendar and you want to put in all the things that are important to you ahead of time. So that way, when someone is asking you, hey, you want to get together on Friday night? You can say no, because you already have self-care plan. You already have a solo date plan. You already have, maybe you're studying for something that's important to you. So you're studying Friday night. You already know you're going to be doing that on Friday night. So when someone hits you up, you already know that you can say no, because you've already set aside time for yourself. So now when you're saying yes, you're more so fitting people in around yourself, which is how it should be. There are of course times where you should be able to clear a weekend or clear a day or clear whatever for people that you care about, solely because it's important to them. Like there are times where you are not going to come first, but the relationship is so important, the experience is so important, that it's okay to say that this is not about me, this is about them. But that's not something that should be happening every week. That's not something that should be happening every day, every month. Like that's not something that should be happening so often that you find yourself in a deficit with your own care for yourself, that you find yourself in a deficit with your own energy, and which what you have the energy to do because you've been giving your energy to everybody else. So I highly, 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 highly advise like creating. I wonder if I have it, and I do. So I have a sheet here that I haven't filled in yet, and y'all will be learning a lot more about this later. But it's a rewards bingo sheet. Let me see if I can get this without the glare. I don't think I can. TikTok got it without the glare. Oh, there we go. So it's a rewards bingo sheet, and as you can see, it's blank. And what I did was I went in my notes app on my phone, which y'all know I'm really big on my notes app. So I went in my notes app on my phone, and I literally just wrote down a whole bunch of different rewards for myself, like things that I find a reward. Some of the random things is like a Zaxby salad, the gun range, spa, like things that I enjoy that I like to do that I don't always get to do. I just wrote them down. And so what I'm gonna do is I am gonna transfer them to this sheet, and then that'll be like my how I track my rewards and how I keep up with my system. But the reason I bring this up is because it would be very, very helpful for you to write out these rewards, write out your goals, write out the things that you desire, write out the things that are important to you. And like I said, put them in your calendar ahead of time. So that way when people are trying to basically book time with you, when people are trying to spend time with you, when people are trying to call or text or plan things together, you already know when in the month you can do things. You already know because you've already set time aside for yourself, which that's priority, that comes first, and then everything else can fall in line behind that. So I highly, highly, highly advise checking your calendar and just adding the things in that are important. If you're studying every Sunday, put that you're studying every Sunday. So that way, when people try to go to brunch Sunday morning, it's like, nope, can't go to brunch with you this week because I'm studying. Like, go ahead and put those things in your calendar, and it's easier. A lot of times when people are getting out of their people pleasing era and joining their selfish era, it's it's easier when you already have something planned because then it feels like less pressure because you can confidently say, "Oh, I already have something planned." Because sometimes people don't. Sometimes when you're getting out of your people pleasing era and getting into your selfish era, you don't necessarily feel comfortable telling people you have plans if you don't actually have something set. Like when you're getting out of people pleasing and getting into your selfish era, it's hard for you to recognize that just chilling at home watching TV is a plan. Just going and sit by the lake is a plan. Like you don't have to be doing this big extravagant thing for you to say that you're busy. But for people who have a hard time with that, have literally having something already set for you to do does help alleviate that pressure of telling somebody no, because it's like you do have this set, it is on your calendar, you are going to do this today, and that'll just give you more comfort until you have more confidence to just say regardless of what you're doing, the answer is no. Even if you're not doing anything, the answer is no because you just don't want to. So, and that takes time. It takes time, it takes unlearning, because a lot of the your parents and your home life and your family, that's um your first socialization is your home life. So a lot of the things that you learn how to socialize is based on your relationship with your parents, it's based on your relationship with your siblings, it's based on your relationship of your caregiver, so whoever you grew up with. So if you found yourself a lot of times even growing up people pleasing and needing to like over explain yourself, that's just something you have to grow out of and realize, like, again, where it came from, and how you can just maneuver different. So that is number two. Just real quick recap. The first one is you want to identify your values, and you want to identify what situation triggered your selfish error. You want to be real clear about what happened, and it doesn't have to be one situation. It could be years of people pleasing, and years of being disappointed, and years of being let down, and years of people not showing up for you the way that they say that they were going to. That has finally, like, that one last incident was the last straw, and now you're moving into your selfish era. So that could be the case as well. It doesn't have to be one situation, but regardless, you want to be aware of what those situations were, because what's going to happen is the more aware you are, the easier it is to get out of that cycle, because what you'll notice is that it's going to keep happening. Like, just because a lot of times what people don't understand with personal growth is just because you're changing doesn't mean the people around you are. So they're going to keep doing the same things they've been doing. You're the one that's making the intentional decision to do something different. So you have to be the one when it comes to your life to do something different. They're going to do the same thing. So you want to be really aware of what triggered your selfish error. So that way when it happens again, when they do it again, when it feels um like the same experience is happening again, you can respond different. Second, you want to start getting to your calendar in advance. You want to start getting to your calendar in advance. Go ahead and put in your self-care. Go ahead and put in your study time. Go ahead and put in your relaxed time. Go ahead and put in all these different things in your calendar that are centered around you. And then when people are asking you about your availability and what you can do, now you have a clear idea of what your actual availability is, because all the time that you can't give to other people is already blocked off. Now you're only giving what you have. You're not taking from yourself anymore. You're only giving the time that you have. Last one. Last one. Then we're gonna wrap this up because I'm doing good. I'm not going over today. Last one, then we're gonna wrap it up. The last one is you want to identify and pay attention to your routines. You want to pay attention to your routines. What does your day-to-day look like when it comes to your selfish error? What did it look like when you were people pleasing? And compare that to what you wanted to look like in your selfish error. That can even be something as simple as I'm not responding to text messages until after 10 a.m. Like, I don't care who texts my phone, I will respond to y'all after 10 a.m. You could get up at 6, but you could make the conscious decision to say that in my routine, I'm not going to respond to phone calls, text messages, anything until after 10 a.m., until 10 a.m. So you want to start paying attention to your routines because, again, this is about behavior. This is about doing a behavior so often that it becomes your lifestyle, because that's what lifestyle is. Lifestyle is not your weekend vacation that you do once a year, once every 2, 3 years. Lifestyle is what you commit to do over and over and over again, to the point that this is how you live your life. This is what you do. This is how you show up for yourself. This is how you show up for your friends. This is how you show up for your family. Like, that is lifestyle. And that's about behavior. It's about repeated behavior. It's about repeated actions, doing the same things over and over and over again, to the point where that is who you are, and that is the kind of life that you live. So you want to look at, what do you want your routine to be like in this selfish era? What does it look like? Does that look like every Friday communication is shut down and I'm decompressing on Fridays, so I'm not talking to anybody on Fridays? Does that look like I'm not scheduling meetings at work until after 11 a.m. when I'm like had my coffee, had time to relax, had time to just get more clear about the day? Like, you have to get real clear about what your routine is going to look like in your selfish era, so that way you can commit to it, so that way you can live in that day in and day out. And so, just to recap, we're talking about going from your people pleasing era to your selfish era, and just getting rid of that guilt that comes with entering your selfish era that a lot of people have when they are coming out of people pleasing and all of those things. So, the first one is that you are going to want to identify the trigger that led you to entering your selfish era anyway, and what values are associated to that trigger. Again, that trigger could be something as simple as a friend not celebrating your wins as much as you celebrate theirs. That could have been a trigger to enter your selfish era, because that made you realize, like, dang, like, I'm always showing up for her. I'm always present for her. I'm always, rooting for her and all that. But then when it's me, I don't get any of that energy in return. That could have triggered your selfish era. It could be, oh, I'm always working, I'm always doing my thing at work, I'm always working really hard, but I made this one request and they told me they could not fulfill this request at all, even though it was a request that was in their means. That could have triggered your selfish error. So you want to start identifying what has triggered your selfish error, so that way when it happens again, and when you're in that experience again, you can choose yourself over what you've done in the past, which is probably choose that person, choose the job, choose the relationship, you're choosing anything but yourself. Moving forward, you'll have more confidence to choose yourself because you'll be clear about why you're choosing yourself in the first place. Because one of a big reason why people have a hard time choosing themselves is because it doesn't make sense to them. They don't see the benefits of choosing themselves. They don't see how that brings more abundance into their lifestyle because they haven't done it enough. They haven't done it enough. They believe that their success is always dependent on the things that they're doing for other people, not realizing that they could be way more successful if they spent less time doing things for other people or more time doing things for themselves. So part two, you want to start auditing your time and paying attention to your calendar. Schedule your things in advance. So schedule your self-care in advance. Schedule your solo dates in advance. Schedule your rest time, your quiet time. Put those things in your calendar. So that way when people are reaching out to you, it's very clear what days and what times you actually have available for other people. And then part three, you want to start paying really close attention to your routines because what routine do you want to have while you're in your selfish era? What does that look like for you? What are your days where it's completely just about you? What days are you prioritizing time for yourself? What days are you going to therapy? What days are you seeing your coach? What days are you studying? So you want to start paying attention to your routines so that way it becomes natural for you to choose yourself. It becomes routine for you to choose yourself. It becomes a ritual. It becomes a habit for you to choose yourself, and it feels good. It starts to feel good. You don't feel as guilty. You don't feel like you owe anybody anything because you know that you are the one investing in yourself and doing the work and showing up the way that you need to show up. So I want to thank y'all for joining me again on this Balanced Millennial Monday. Make sure y'all check out my website at premierpersonalgrowthfirm.com. I am currently accepting clients. So if you would like to join the Balancing Act is a three-phase journey that I guide millennials through. Phase one, we are talking about your core values. What do you value? What do you value and why? Phase two, we're talking about your time management. We want to shift the way that you think about time management away from productivity and more focused on wellness. And then in phase three, we are talking about your habits and routines and your rituals. And we want to make sure that your habits, routines, and rituals align with your core values because again, you're creating a whole new lifestyle, a whole new reality. So if you are interested, make sure you DM me the word balance. Also, you can check out my website again at premierpersonalgrowthfirm.com. If you ever have any questions, email me at keytoyourgoals@gmail.com. I will be happy to respond and happy to answer any questions. Thank everyone for joining me today. And again, I will be back next Monday because we are here every Monday. And shout out to me for being consistent even when I don't feel like it. Shout out to me because I've been doing Balanced Millennial Monday every Monday this year. So shout out to me. We're making it through the entire 2024. So I'm excited. But I will see y'all next week and we will continue talking about guilt and overwhelm and how that impacts your success. Thank y'all for joining me. See you next week.